Boom, hello, and welcome to the Protect Your Nation podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to making the world a better place, making the world a safer place by making good people dangerous. In this podcast, we're going to study and understand what it takes to protect your family, to protect your loved ones, because we all know that you have a few basic needs, food, water, and shelter, but you also have the need to protect those things in a world and society where evil runs rampant and is sometimes left unchecked. Learning how to protect yourselves and your loved ones is becoming more and more important. And so we strive to raise the level of accountability to those who would do evil on this planet by making sure that the sheep, that the flock, is more well-versed in protecting themselves and their loved ones. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the show. Out.
Boom! What's up, you guys? Welcome to another awesome episode. Out here, we're about to launch this podcast. I'm probably going to air this. This is going to be Protector Podcast. And I've got an honored guest here, someone I've known for a while who's been impacting the space heavily of prevention with regards to human trafficking and abuse for children. Rosie Cataldo, how you doing?
Good to see you. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an honor. Absolutely. People like you, I see you as an inspiration, for folks that are like, what can I do? Like, how can I impact this thing? And I'm like, you just get to work. You take what you got from where you're at and you get to work. And everyone has a voice and everyone can have an impact and everyone's got a unique experience that empowers them to have that impact. If you just give what you got, you get more and you do more, so you've been awesome to work with and to talk to. So I want to honor you with that for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for all that you do. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's really phenomenal what you do and how you've taken what you've learned to help other people be safer and peaceful, yet dangerous.
Yes. Be peaceful, not harmless, Real quick, just so everyone understands, what is it that you're into these days? What are you doing out there in the space?
So my primary lane that I'm in is prevention education. I am the director of outreach for an organization called Childhood Victories, and they're outside of Chicago. And the founder is Victor Pacini, and he brings abuse prevention education to schools. He uses his own personal experience. He's a survivor of sexual abuse at age 8 by a family friend, and he told no one for 11 years. And that was extremely traumatizing. And he is using his pain to empower youth so that the same thing doesn't happen to him. And he just encourages kids to be seen and to be heard. And I reached out to him because what he's doing is so vital and important. And also it most definitely overlaps within human trafficking, which is my passion, preventing that. There's so much room for prevention within human trafficking and awareness. So if we can prevent vulnerabilities like physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, that is vital. We want to focus so much on the peanut allergy in the classroom, and we need to
allergies,
we really need to look at these issues and help kids. And it's not only just amazing and wonderful for kids to have more tools in their tool belt to be safer, but we're actually interrupting abuse as well, which is a double-edged sword. It's really gut-wrenching on one hand to know that the student is experiencing adversities, abuse, but then on the other hand, we have played a role with the school and with the teacher in interrupting it. So that's why I'm here. That's the first time that I was able to do that was very transformative. And I thought, wow, every single kid needs this. It's a life skill.
That's awesome. And I think, just want everyone to know you don't have to be special forces in order to fight human trafficking. Okay, guys, everyone can do something. Everyone should do something, even if it's raising awareness. But more than that, especially if it's on your heart, those of you who have had children, this is impactful. You can only imagine, it's Yeah. So it's a righteous battle. And I think it really permeates so much of everyone's reality and everyone's life in so many ways, more than I think we realize, fortunately, I didn't have to deal with that growing up. So I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't really think about it, or don't want to think about it. So how prevalent is childhood abuse? And then maybe if you could talk about some of the impacts it has on our society that people don't realize, or some of the outcomes.
Well, you have to
two huge questions.
Yeah, you have to take statistics with a grain of salt, but
right.
1 in 4 girls and 1 in 4 boys will experience a form of sexual abuse prior to age 18.
That's boys.
Yes. And it is 91% of those cases involve someone the child knows or kind of knows. So it's like stranger danger is really, it's not. Yes, abductions happen, but the sexual abuse, physical abuse, and even trafficking is formed through relationships. So being tricked into trust. So it's really a very delicate issue and a very taboo issue. And some schools embrace it. Some schools have to teach this. There are 37 states in the US that have passed a law called Erin's Law. Erin herself is a survivor of sexual abuse, and she developed this law to have safety, body safety prevention education to be brought into schools. So it's fantastic. I unfortunately am in a state of Minnesota where the law has been passed, but they altered the wording in the law. So it's not a mandate, but schools are allowed to teach it, which is it's just really hard. Why would you go and bother to pass a law? Yeah, it's a waste of time, because why would you bother to pass a law when you're not fully on board? And it can be costly. It can be time consuming. A lot is put on schools, but when there are people on the other end profiting from vulnerable kids, it's really past the time to look at this. So.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, that's because, I've understood more deeply, you always hear the love of money is the root of all evil. And I was always kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but like, as I've looked at the way our world's been shaped, the world's made for money, not mankind anymore. Your doctor, your food you're eating is made for money, not for you. So it's causing cancer. Like, it's just so many things now. We were given a planet that has everything we need to exist and thrive. And we've put this other world over it, and so when I see things like that don't make sense, I just follow the money, and I usually find they make perfect sense, unfortunately.
It's very lucrative. It's human trafficking is the fastest growing worldwide illegal enterprise. So it's over 150 billion, that's a billion dollar industry. And so we have to take a look at it. It's passing the drug trade. So if we can talk to 5th graders about how to not, stay away from alcohol and drugs, we absolutely need to talk to them about how to stay safer online and put up defenses so that they don't engage in high risk behaviors.
Well put. Absolutely. Well put. The digital realm has added a whole nother layer of vulnerability to civilians' lives. It used to be like, hey, situational awareness, like, don't look at your phone while you walk around. It's like, now it's like, how are you behaving on your phone, and how are you making yourself and your family vulnerable? And what are your kids doing? It's just, there's so much more to consider.
90% of exploitation begins with online connections.
Yeah. And grooming online, so parents, don't just fire and forget. Make sure you have some controls on those phones, some oversights on those phones. I don't think any human should be confronted with predators like that until their brains are developed enough to be able to navigate those types of interactions. That stuff's huge. So this is part of parenting.
You hit the nail on the head, because so many things need to come into play when you are combating human trafficking. So just what you were saying in the beginning is so many people say, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? Well, first of all, like, what line of work are you currently in? You don't have to quit your day job and start a nonprofit. You can use your own innate skills. I mean, ranging from, freeze. Are you a banker? Do you have, can you be following some money trails? Because freezing assets will put a stop to a lot of this criminal activity.
Wow.
Even foster care, adoption, huge, even just being an active and engaged parent. You're fighting human trafficking, because one of the root causes for this is, the breakdown of the family unit. Even, some people might have a single parent working 4 jobs and they, are doing the best they can, but there are all these other vulnerabilities that can creep in, and dangerous situations. And you can have parents who are both working full time, have fantastic jobs, but they're not devoting enough time and attention to their kids. And again, the kids look elsewhere for attention to fill those voids. It's all about, on both sides, the buyer, the Johns, and the victim.
Yeah.
There are both sides. If you peel back the layers and look, it's all about filling voids.
Yeah.
So some people are filling them in really unhealthy ways.
Right.
And some people are empty and looking for a connection and going about it in a dangerous way. So
one thought too is, help your kids fill voids with things that'll boost their confidence, like sports and hobbies that help them develop an internal innate self-worth. Like, I'm good at art. I can do this. I'm good at an instrument. I'm on a team and I've got a group, like things that can help build self-confidence, make you less vulnerable from other people trying to define you or redefine you, or and then put labels and things on you. That's a thought. One real quick thing I'll add too is we did a podcast a while back. It's episode 27 on the Protector podcast with Emily Chen. And she's an Asian American. And she was sharing her story about how she survived human trafficking. And, of course, you see the beginning of the podcast and you're like, oh, this was something you experienced over, in the Philippines or something before you came to good old America, and she's like, no, I was raised in America. I believe she said California, and I got trafficked after I left to go to school in Irvine. Okay. I met a guy and was groomed and then put in a situation where she was locked up in an apartment for weeks or months. And then fortunately, law enforcement kicked the door in one day and just rescued her. Fortunately, by the grace of God, there are hundreds of thousands of people in that position right now that's not happening for. So this is something that can impact your children and people at any real point in time throughout their development on the way to adulthood. And it doesn't just happen in other countries. We're, I think, one of the biggest consumers of these.
Where in the US, we are the number one demand.
Yep.
Yes. You hit the nail on the head. And I tell people, like, don't be like me. Don't wait for this issue to come over you like a tsunami wave. Just be proactive, get engaged with a local nonprofit or do some volunteer work. Just educate yourself, because I'll share with you why I'm so passionate about this. In my community, my friends, toddlers were pulled into a very sophisticated sex trafficking ring, and the nanny served as the pimp. Mm-hmm. So there was a whole intricate system set up, and people would come in and out of the home to violate. Well, that's actually a really nice word. It's child rape. So human trafficking, sex trafficking involving a child is child rape. So people would come into the home posing as fake moms and dads, fake grandmas and grandpas, and rape the children. And the parents would be tracked and monitored, so the perpetrators would know their whereabouts. And it's just, it blew my mind. I was just aware of trafficking as a whole. And the Super Bowl had come to Minneapolis 3 years ago, and there were lots of great work being done to spread awareness, and lots of sting operations had been set up to interrupt some trafficking operations. And so that's when I first kind of had my antenna up about this. And then when I learned about how, like, what a market there is for children, very young children, I'm talking 2 years old. So these children cannot even voice, some of them, if they're not all kids are talking to, can't even voice what is happening to them. So that, beyond disturbing, I couldn't sleep at night, and I thought, what can I do? Like, what can I do? My background is in journalism. I was a media rep for the Federal Reserve Bank in public affairs. So I thought, then the FBI had an opening in their public affairs, and I thought, I'm going for it. That's what I'm going to do. And one day there were like 5 unmarked cars following me. And I thought perhaps they were following me, checking up on me. And I'm like, yes, they're going to call me for an interview. And later on, I spoke with someone who works in the FBI, and they're like, yeah, no, that's not what, they don't do that.
Not how they do that.
So, but to be honest, like, I'm a very spiritual person. I totally believe in God. And I ask God, like, what can I do? Like, what can I do? I need help. Like, what can I do in this realm? And prevention education landed in my lap through a stranger. So I was doing some prevention on a smaller scale for a couple of years. And then last year joined forces with Childhood Victories. And so there's so many, this human trafficking is so deep and widespread that there are a lot of great things being done to help survivors and to raise awareness, which is so important and vital. However, just as important, if not more important, is prevention. So we're going to get, as you know, with your background, we're going to get nowhere being reactive.
Right.
So you already missed your opportunity. So to be able to have conversations and empower kids with local schemes and what's going on, and it's all about awareness and avoidance, so that they can just have more knowledge to be safe and make better decisions. And they can't do it alone. Like, you can't just go into a school and drop a prevention program on a teen and then, oh, you're good. No, it's an ongoing process. It's just like you were saying, it's having those support systems and support networks, because not all kids have that. We preach, you got to love yourself before you love someone else. Well, let's rewind here. Not everyone grows up in a safe home with loving parents. So we have to be able to, go outside ourselves, go outside our circle, get uncomfortable, and, allow ourselves to be a mentor, be a coach. People who are teachers have encouraged kids to set up a group so they talk to each other about safe dating and what they're experiencing. And is this normal? Is this okay? Hey, I got an opportunity to do some sugaring. What do you guys think? Don't do it. Don't do it. So sugaring is a business opportunity for young people to sell themselves, sell their time, like dates. But it's not just dating. It's not just coffee. It's all about sex. So they're teenagers, even in my area, who think this is okay. This is a great side hustle, want to save for college, and dangerous things result from it. So to rewind, having these student support groups so they can share experiences with one another is huge, because not all kids are going to talk to their parents. They might be embarrassed or ashamed about being sexually assaulted or something they feel they're embarrassed about doing online. So it's just super important to have those peer groups so they can serve as resources for each other and have a school liaison to be able to talk to each other, because there's so many schemes out there, ranging from job opportunities that are false, or even college interviews that are held off campus that are not legit college interviews. So traffickers are very smart. They are entrepreneurs in the worst sense of the word, because they're constantly finding new ways and new tactics to engage, to trick people into trusting them. So it's leveling up. It's a constant game of leveling up and being on top of different schemes. There was one locally where a gentleman was posing as a modeling agent. It was a male posing as a female modeling agent online, and he was then going after local sports teams, high school sports teams, and he would flatter them and engage with them, and then some pictures were shared that slid into inappropriate pictures being shared, and then that morphed into sextortion. And this criminal is now in jail, but as a result, there were over 200 people he exploited, and 2 of those high school boys committed suicide as a result of the sextortion. So it is very serious. It's really important. It's hard to talk about these things with your kids, but it is really important to talk about them and keep an open line of communication. 100%.
Wow, that's a lot of good info in there. I think some of the things you said there that were pretty awesome really, had to do with the fact that, this isn't like a one exposure kind of party when we're talking about really trying to help prevent these things. It's kind of more like plant the seeds, water the seeds, make sure the individuals, the teens or the youth feel comfortable, know that they have tools, they can depend on those tools. And then hopefully they do take advantage of those tools. And it's a smart approach, and meeting them kind of at their level, in their environments with their peers and things like that. Because we're up against so much in culture, that can make it okay. Like I said, the world's made for money, not mankind. When I was young, I was looking for ways to make money. Fortunately, I was in a good environment at a private school, and I just chose to mow lawns, you know what I'm saying? So I was out my lawn mowing business, baby. But I was an entrepreneur too, because I came up with this. I almost got kicked out of school because I put sugar and Kool-Aid together, and I was selling hypo to all the kids in class. I'll never forget, they caught me and they're like, open your backpack. And I had all these little baggies of sugar and Kool-Aid. And they're like, what is this? I'm like, it's hypo. And because kids were getting just twacked out in class and going crazy, Well, I made a pretty penny before they caught me, but they were like, Byron, you're at a private school. You're about to be out. And of course, I'm the only Black guy there, right? So they're like, we got one of these dudes in here selling drugs. They thought I was selling drugs at first. And then, anyways, hey. But that's a huge drive. It's a huge motivator, for kids and everything. You don't want to ask your parents for everything your whole entire life. So, which feels like your life when you're at those ages, and you can make real money doing these things. And of course, one of the biggest things we're struggling with in the world right now is the attack on values. Mm-hmm. The tectonic plates of our society are being shifted as they redefine values for people who don't really, really know who they are or why they believe what they believe. And when you're a teenager, that stuff's in flux. You've got parents and people that aren't as cool telling you, to do all these things. You don't know why. You don't care about eating your vegetables till you get older and you realize, I need to eat my vegetables. I see the vulnerabilities are huge, and that's really big. What would you say about prevention kind of the one-on-one. I know you kind of talked about it a little bit here, but if you were going to give people some cliff notes on really prevention and detection, like what do you really need to educate, do, and look for in order to fight this thing without having to kick doors down and go grab kids like I always want to do?
Well, that is at the heart of what I'm trying to do. I wrote a curriculum, which my prevention partner, Victor, the founder of Childhood Victories, is kindly sharing his platform for me. So I wrote the Value Project, and we are bringing it into schools. We've got California schools purchasing it, which is super exciting. But so precisely what we're trying to do is the formula I'm using is unique because I have a unique lens, and there are a few other prevention programs out there, but I have my own lens. I'm coming from real world experiences and utilizing information from survivors and overcomers. They have to be at the forefront of prevention because they've gone through this. And so just with all the my own experiences through my friend and her children, which I shared, and survivor experiences, I think a great formula is getting into schools to, number one, empower kids and let them know their uniqueness. No, you're not like some gift to the world, but you are unique. Like you are unique and you have unique gifts that no one else has, because these many kids don't have an awesome home life. They don't have people there who are their cheerleaders. So they need that support. Youth who have been trafficked have said, I just wanted someone to love me, or I just wanted to fill my time. So those are two huge elements we can work with. Traffickers prey on vulnerable kids. So let's prevent some of them. So going into schools and highlighting the uniqueness of kids, helping them get a support system going, showing them tools and strategies for engaging in support systems that are available to them if they feel comfortable and safe doing that in their school environment or a community environment if their home life is not safe. Right. And then, what is trafficking? Define it. What is it? What is it? What does it look like? Right. What does it look like? In our, I'm 47, so my husband's 5 years older than I am. Big deal. We graduated at the same time. But if you're in high school and there's a 5-year age gap, red flag, even 2 to 5 years. No, that is a huge red flag. So right there, an age difference, someone offering, there are different types of pimps. So there's the Romeo pimp who's going to offer flattery and compliments and, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And this process can happen. I've seen it take a few days, and I've seen it in 2 years. So it's just a process of tricking that person into trust, filling their voids, really getting to know them. It's a complete manipulation game. So we've got
grooming kind of process.
Yes. So the Romeo, the promise of love, you've got a finesse pimp, luring with false promises, like a job, modeling, things like that. And you've got your CEO type pimp who sees sexual exploitation as just a business and people as commodities, and they're just going to go in and do whatever they can, like an Epstein, do whatever they can to manipulate those teens into turning a profit for that CEO. And then there are guerrilla type pimps. These are gang involved, typically, that are extremely dangerous. And they are not afraid to utilize someone else's, they're not afraid to kill off one of their girls. It's typically a female, to show coercion, control over the other people that they're exploiting. So lots of different types of targets, lots of different types of pimping, I should say.
Yeah.
But then, so teaching kids like, hey, if someone is just really, really too good to be true, and something's going on inside your body, like, this just feels off. This doesn't feel right. Listen to that. Right. Listen to it. That is, like, you've talked about this before. It's common sense to some of us, but some other people need reminders. Always go with your gut. Trust your gut feeling. That is your number one safety and security tool.
God-given instinct. Yeah.
Exactly. So don't override it. Don't let so many women in particular, let their polite factor override their fear factor. And that is a very dangerous place to be.
Yep.
So
I talk about it with my wife. I'm like, you're woman branding this. Okay. Stop. Don't give this person some beautiful excuse for why they're being stupid right now. Okay. Take it at face value. If something feels off, don't come up with some, don't assign them motivations for what they're doing. If you don't, and Gavin DeBecker wrote an amazing book about this called The Gift of Fear. Y'all need to read that book, and you need to make your kids read the book, and your wives and daughters read the book. Another great book, Tim Lycan wrote a book called When Violence is the Answer. Huge book. You need to tape your kids' ears open and force them. Women and children, everyone else who's not a natural organic combatant needs to force them this information. It's so good. You can get a lot of it by going to protectyournation.com and watching the presentations we have online right now about them. But this education is huge for so many areas of life when it comes to safety and prevention, even business deals. I mean, come on, y'all. You got more senses than you realize. Your gut is huge. It's actually another part of your brain that people don't actually talk about very often. But anyway, sorry. Side note.
No, exactly. We're all about side notes. But even feeding off that, like the gift of fear. So talking to teens about dating strategies, like what seems just like common sense to some of us, others are completely oblivious to. Like group dates rock, like totally take advantage of the group dates. And if you do have an opportunity, and this goes for, people in the dating world too, whatever your age is. So have someone know, at least two other people know where you're going, and always go to a public location. And piggybacking off Gavin DeBecker, on a first date, never, ever go to a second location. Just keep it at a public place and be done. And if they're worthy of your time for a second date, you can strategize where you're going to go for your second date, but keep it at a public location. Have code words. Those are huge. Have a code word with a family member, have a code word with your bestie, so that, you can text them the code word and they know, boom, all right, I know where you are. I'm going to come and help you.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to make up an excuse to get out of an uncomfortable situation. You don't owe this person anything. It's an opportunity to get to know the person, and that's why you date. So are you? Mm-hmm. Yes. So just again, simple strategies. I use an example of a study date. So let's say this actually happened. So a class was assigned to do a project with a partner. So a female student went to a male student's house. She didn't know him very well. And there was another person in the home, but they studied. They went down to the basement to study, and no one was in the basement, and she was sexually assaulted. So I present this to kids, and although it is never, ever the victim's fault, what could have been done differently to prevent this? And give the kids a moment to turn and talk and come up with solutions. And they're like, hey, study with the bigger group, or go to a cafe, or go to the school library.
Go to Starbucks.
Precisely. So just giving them different ways to think about situations. Like, you don't have to be boxed into a situation you're not comfortable with.
Right.
So And I know now, we're so anti-profiling. However, it is a safety mechanism for you. I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care what color you are. Where are you? What kind of vibe are you giving off? And like, are you making my inner siren go off? Like, I need to take a different route. So, or just trust that, and don't feel like, oh, this person looks a certain way, I'm judging.
Or the guilt thing. Like, don't be like, oh, I don't want to be judgy. Like, no.
Yes.
If you're in one, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. 1, 2, and that's something that I had to realize growing up as a Black dude. Sometimes, I get problems with the cops and people be like, well, they're being racist. I'm like, but all the drug dealers here look like me. You know what I mean? Like, so like when I was in Iraq, I was like, so I just got to be smart, like I got to be smart about what I'm doing because I look like the dudes doing the hood rat stuff right now. Like, this is just logic. Or like when we were in Iraq and it was like, all right, well, profiling is life. Like if these dudes are wearing their man dresses, then they're probably herding sheep. But if they're wearing Adidas and tracksuits, then they're probably Alibaba today. So, this is a survival thing. Mm-hmm. There should be, I think, and the other thing about profiling real quick is everyone's profiling. Okay. Mm-hmm. You profiled the girl that just walked into Starbucks. People are profiling you when they're trying to sell stuff to you and you walk in a store. Profiling is an intelligent human behavior that will help you survive and thrive. Almost no matter what kind of business you're in, you got to profile customers. This is just part of the human experience. They try to make it a bad thing. And your safety and security is your responsibility. I'm not going to blame the victim because, someone decided to come in and shoot the place up. But I will definitely say that you have to take responsibility for your security because your protection quotient, PQ, your ability to protect yourself is what protects every other right and opportunity and the ability to breathe and everything you have, So these things, this is a paramount consideration. This is something that is more important than a lot of the different types of decisions you make inside of a day, is the decisions you make concerning your own security. So I always try to get people to realize that. And it's an unapologetic, hey, I just don't feel right. Someone's following me, or maybe someone's following me, maybe they're not, but I am still going to dip into this Starbucks right here and just maybe ask to use their bathroom and hang out in here for a second to see if they continue following me or if they pull off, Right. It's so powerful. Leverage the public and ruthlessly err on the side of safety. Oh, there's some guy about to get in the elevator with me. I don't feel quite comfortable. You know what? I got a call. I just got a phone call. Walk away, take another lap, go back out to the lobby and come back and see what's going on. You may have just saved your life and your future.
Yes. You're speaking my language. Yes. 100%. I one activity I toss out to kids. It's like, hey, just go sit, whether you're at the park, the mall, the airport, in your lunchroom, at school, just take a minute to observe. You can read so much about a person before they even speak, and even doing this with your young kids, hey, what type of energy is that person giving off? What does their face look like? What kind of posture do they have? Do they look, even asking your preschooler, does that person look happy, angry, sad? Their body language says it all. So just dialing it back. We're so busy and so distracted. And it's part of the problem is that we just have to dial it back and spend time tapping in and planning ahead and exactly analyzing people because it is for your protection.
Yeah. Another big one I'll mention right before we transition a little bit is who here doesn't really have an alibi? I'm at the park with loved ones and I'm like, so who in this environment looks like they might be just here for the wrong reasons or here watching? We get to an airport, we're getting ready to leave the airport in a space or a country that's questionable. Who here stands out? Why do they stand out? Well, these people are obviously waiting for an Uber. These people are getting their bags. They just got off a plane. But this guy over here is just kind of sitting over here looking at everyone who's just arrived. What is he doing? What's his alibi? Okay, well, let's pay a little extra attention to that guy and let's see if he's paying attention to us. These are the types of things that just try to, and the other thing is you don't have to go spend a decade in a dojo or at the range to live a safer pattern of life. I'm a professional. I help people live safer patterns of life as a civilian. And I try to get those skills through all these online mediums and training events to people like, you're a single mom. Well, if you learn about profiling and you learn about situational awareness, not just be situationally aware, but you learn like context, where are you going? Tactical positioning. Where's everyone in relation to you? Rolling risk assessments. Are you looking at your risks, how your behaviors are impacting your vulnerabilities, times who's around and what's going on? If you're starting to think this way, you will live a safer pattern of life. And you even if you spent a decade at the dojo, the best fighter doesn't always win, and you don't want to get into a combative altercation because there's so much chance, we can all lose. So these are the real skills of protection and security, these soft skills, the software, the way to think and move through this world. Mm-hmm. I always want to drive that home for folks because they always just want to get out on the range with me. And I'm like, listen, you and your family can live so much safer with some preparation and education. Mm-hmm. And then obviously hard skills are also important, but 90% of everything we avoid just through this IQ, this protection quotient.
Yeah. So important. Just simple things like the good old fashioned rule of using the buddy system. Yeah. That's going to save your life in college. That is going to save your life or whatever, even post high school, you start going to parties and you just have to know these rules of the game. If you're going to engage in that. Because even highlighting drinking and drug use, that is a really great way to up your vulnerability. So because you're just not as aware, your defenses are down and your judgment is off. And you've got to be, if you're going to engage in that, you have to have someone with you who has your back because you could be just in a horrible situation if you don't.
Especially if you're not as physically potent as, most people, and I'm a combat veteran, like who's trained my entire life for war. And I still, when I was in that party scene after I got out of the Marine Corps, had experience where people were trying to victimize me even. And I was like, did this really just happen? And it was just the grace of God and the grace of God that I fortunately was like, we need to leave, before like passing out, before, and fortunately I'm just, he's created me to be really strong and listen, and saved, myself, and the people who were with me a lot of trauma. So don't think you're above it, don't think you're above it. And I was, 260 pounds ready to kill anything I had to, and it still was a thing, so hey.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful. You have to really trust who you're hanging out with and don't waste your time on false friends. Once you find out they don't really have your back, there's no point in continuing that friendship. But so many things, what were you going to ask?
Oh, no. What are some signs when it comes to children and those who can't protect themselves that parents and guardians should be looking for to detect any type of abuse or victimization?
Okay, really good question. Like regarding what happened to my friend's kids, she detected it's called circular play or repetitive play. The kids were doing the same things over and over and over. And she thought, what is going on? That was her first tip off. Mm-hmm. But for kids, maybe they've been potty trained and then they're wetting the bed. That's one thing. It's not like, oh my gosh, they're wetting the bed now, something happened. It's not that, but it's just something to be curious about, to keep in mind and to look into. If they all of a sudden start becoming really clingy and needy and their personality has shifted, becoming, they were on a great path and enjoying, grade school, and then just did a flip and the behavior switched. So just things like that, to be curious and to be aware of, and just to know what they're doing, who they're hanging out with, who their coaches are, who their teachers are, because a predator can be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So a sexual predator can be anyone. It's not just in the Catholic system. It's not just in the Boy Scouts. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So just to keep that in mind and have your antenna up. Some other signs would be just a lack of interest in something that you were once really passionate about. All of a sudden you're just full on soccer player and then, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. A loss of interest in anything that you really were passionate about. Mood changes, behavior changes, possible depression, anxiety. So things like that, just to be in tune with how your kid typically acts, and any sudden or gradual shifts in behavior. And that's really hard with teenagers because their brain is going through such a massive transformation that they are moody, different, so it's just keeping that open dialogue, open communication with your kiddo, and knowing they need to know that you love them unconditionally, and nothing they could ever do will change your love for them. So I think when kids know their parents have their back 100%, that's huge. That's really huge. So then like my kids share stuff with me I would never have shared with my parents, but I'm really glad for that because it's just an open dialogue, and no way, no one's a perfect parent. I'm not a perfect parent, but when you try your best and keep engaged with your kids and have trust with them and accountability, it's really huge. So there are many, many red flags. One, totally obvious one is, tattoos. Like if tattoos are a way of like that, this is getting away from little kids, but tattoos are a way for
the Pimps to mark them, right?
Yes, to show ownership. Yeah, totally. So anyone who wants to get a neck tattoo, I'm like, why don't we rethink that? Like, just double think that. Yeah. So that's one thing. Like school nurses are really, really on the front lines of helping detect abuse because, this is not pleasant to talk about, but if a younger girl starts menstruating sooner than the typical age, that could be a red flag right there. And so girls who are continuing to go to the school nurse for, quote unquote female issues, and it's really anxiety. So school nurses can really be on the watch for this and monitor if someone is coming in frequently with the same issues, just to be keeping tabs and really diving into what's going on. So, but otherwise with teenagers, it's similar, like a loss of what you've previously loved to do. So are you like skipping school? You can't stay awake during school? Are you dropping out of your sports activities? Are you in a relationship that's very controlling? All very red flags. Those are huge red flags. So again, going back to a peer group at school is such a really great part of the solution, because again, kids will be way more apt to share with each other than with adults for fear of shame or embarrassment. And kids can say, hey, what's up with your boyfriend? Like you've totally changed. Like you don't like to do anything that you previously liked to do. And hey, there's a mark on your hand. What is that all about? Even watching for any sort of bruising, cutting. Sometimes traffickers if they use force or physical abuse as a means to control, not all of them do, but some of them do. And then they would typically try to make that mark or that bruise in a place that is not obvious to see. So lots of different ways.
Yeah, that's interesting. The circular play thing you were saying with the little people. I always thought little kids just are trying to learn mastery. So they're always trying to like do the same thing again and again, but interesting. And then any like obviously abuse to those areas possibly would probably be.
Yes, exactly. Like in the program that my prevention partner, Victor Pacini, developed, it's called Be Seen and Heard. And his language is just phenomenal. It's so simple. It's no one touches your private body parts unless it is to keep you clean and healthy. So do mom and dad help keep you clean and healthy sometimes? Yeah. Mom and dad help give me a bath. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Thumbs up. They're helping give you a bath. Awesome. What about when you go to the doctor? Are mom and dad or a guardian with you at the doctor? Yeah. Is it okay for the doctor to look or touch your private body parts? Well, yeah, it is. Thumbs up, because they're keeping you healthy. What about a dentist? Which I chuckle at this because I'm married to a dentist, but going to the dentist, like, is it okay for your dentist to look or touch your private body parts? Thumbs down. No, it's not okay, because your dentist is all about your smile and your teeth. Right. That's the area. So just talking to, I think that language is it's so simple and so important. And then you're not only planting the seed for these kids as they grow and helping them be safe, but we are interrupting abuse. So it is very powerful. It's not only changing the world for that child, for their family, for the classroom, for the community. It's societal changing. It is flipping the switch on an epidemic, which is way more prevalent than any of us really can wrap our heads around. So it's way more prevalent than the 1 in 4 and 1 in 6 statistic. So it is just so important to move past your discomfort. It's like, put that in the back seat and move forward. And it's okay to get uncomfortable to talk about this, because the more you talk about it, the easier it is. And keeping it top of mind for kids is huge. So.
No, 100%. And forget about your discomfort. These people are going through right now. Like, yes. Yeah, no, it's time for us to, especially those of us who are protectors. This is what we do. And like it or not, if you're an adult, there are people in your life and your family that you need to protect. This is, and there's a number of different ways we have to do it, with these conversations, even financially, mentally, emotionally. These are our duties, Yeah, I 100% resonate with this. What should someone do if they do, in their, toddler or in anyone in their family unit, any advice to how to begin dealing with something like this and what that looks like, or what to do next,
So if a parent has found out that suspects, to have, hopefully the child's at an age where they can talk, but just to have an open dialogue with your child or whomever you're trying to address, because they usually will, once they know they have a safe place to talk about it, it can come up. Like, for example, when Victor goes into schools and we go into schools and we're giving this curriculum to kids disclose. So Aaron's Law was passed in 2014, and that's when Victor started this program. And since then, 350 kids have disclosed. So they recognize that we're safe people to talk to. So it will come out. Sometimes it will come out a little later to a teacher. Sometimes you are just planting a seed and it might not come out for 2 more years. So that's a loaded question, because it depends upon so many variables. Because is that child being threatened? Is someone threatening to kill their dog if they tell? Is someone threatening to come after them if they tell? Because that absolutely happens. So yeah, it depends. Let's say it's a coach. So someone outside the family is sexually abusing your child. Just keeping an open dialogue. And if your anxiety has a fear or
anxiety about going to practice.
Yeah, exactly. Or the child could go completely the other way and like, hey, this is introducing something different. This feels good. I really have this bond with this coach. And the coach is totally grooming the child. So anyone who appears closer than normal, like someone who's just gifting a lot of time and attention. If it feels off, just go with that. Yeah. So, I mean, I know I'm kind of all over the place with an answer.
I totally dig it. It's just, it's addressing it in a way where they feel safe enough to disclose this information to you, or putting them in an environment where they will feel safe enough to start to actually open up and disclose this information so you can then deal with it, and then removing them probably from those relationships, then probably wiping the person off of the face of the earth that is engaging in that behavior. I mean, I shudder to think, far be it from me, anyways, God bless them. God bless everybody.
We do need, if we had stricter laws, penalties, even the death penalty for people who are raping children, it would be a game changer. And I'm not a violent person, but you touch my kid, I'm going to unleash. So, and I feel like I wish every parent were like that. Don't be afraid or ashamed to stand up for your kid.
Right. What do you think? What do you think about this new pronoun game they're trying to get down on? Yeah, I'm saying, like, I reposted a video like last week, I think it was Sunday, where there was a professor, we'll call it a professor, that was saying something about, well, we prefer these pronouns. We're just attracted to little people, and it's like supposed to be fine. What do you think?
A minor attracted person. That's the acronym they were pushing, which is very, very, very dangerous. So, there are some pedophiles that are trying to put a P into the LGBTQ plus acronym, which is just wrong on so many levels, because that is a criminal act. So it has no business being grouped with those other groups, but it's a very slippery slope. So from my lens and from what I've seen and all that I've been learning about trauma, from the trauma specialists I've been working with and meeting with, the case studies, the anecdotal cases. So from my lens, and I'm not alone here, it is a Band-Aid approach to use pronouns because we are avoiding a major root cause of gender identity confusion. And this is not 100% of cases, but the vast majority of people who are confused about their gender have experienced sexual trauma. So if you introduce sex to a child, that individual is not emotionally ready, not physically ready, not mentally ready. It is confusing on mass levels, and it is traumatizing to the point that some people do not recover from that. I have talked to women who have been sexually assaulted, and they don't even want to be a parent. I've talked to women who have been sexually abused by a family member, and they have a child and they can't even breastfeed the child because of the trauma. That is so beyond damaging. So it's a slippery slope here when one group is trying to bleed its agenda into another. And for example, there are some groups coming into schools and saying that it's okay for these elementary students to choose their gender. Well, that is another form of sexual abuse that is completely inappropriate. And it is just feeding the normalcy of child sexual abuse. So the more vulnerable kids that we create, then, as I stated previously, traffickers prey on those vulnerabilities.
Yep.
And the majority of people who have been trafficked have experienced sexual abuse. So it is it's very dangerous in my opinion and from my lens. And it's past the time for people to just accept it. And people need to stand up and say, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like a good pathway here. And it is beyond confusing for a child. So I know there are lots of different opinions on that, but I just have a massive red flag there. And it's deeply concerning because human trafficking, remember, we're the number one demand. So it is a follow the money, just like you said, it is a massive, massive industry. So if you peel back all the layers behind trafficking, we've got a lot of greed, we've got a lot of egos, we've got a lot of traumatized, disembodied people walking around trying to make a buck. And it's a nicer term to say a person's violated, but let's call a spade a spade. It is child rape. They're profiting from child rape. So when is that ever okay? Right. Ever. It is never, ever
or
okay.
Even when is it okay to expose a human that doesn't have the developmental structure to deal with sexual contact? Like, when is it okay to expose them to that because you're minor attracted, because you're attracted to people? Like, we don't get to do anything.
Trauma. It's called trauma. So it was either done to you, or you maybe have an unhealthy porn addiction because you have a void. And you're trying to fill it in an unhealthy way with porn. And gone are the days when you had to walk to a video store or borrow a magazine. It is at your kids' fingertips. And it is so dangerous for these young kids to have smartphones, because there are some very, very, very dark things out there. Even just the violence that is coming about as normal, like kink and choking is becoming like it's trying to be normalized, but that is sexual trauma. There was a case locally where two students were high school friends and now they're in college, and male, female. So the female student is driving home for the holidays, and her male friend said, hey, while you're driving back home, stop by and see me. Oh, I'm staying at a hotel. Well, they're friends. They are friends. And he sexually assaulted her and is choking her, and she managed to get away. Oh, and by the way, he's videotaping it. So he's taping it to make a buck off of violent rape. So these are the dangerous things that we're seeing come up. And what is so, so, so important is to teach your kids. I mean, granted, yes, women and men can be addicted to porn, but I'm speaking more to the men here. It is so important to teach your kids to not get off on someone's violent rape. Like if that's the problem. So if you can teach like real valuable human connection, that's a wonderful start. Like that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister, that's someone's mother that is being brutally attacked. And then, oh, by the way, they're exploited and making money off of it. So it's beyond destructive. And it's just exploded in the past 10 years. It's disgusting. There are like so many jobs, so many amazing people doing wonderful work in this realm. And some people say, I could never do what you do. Well, I could never be a dark web investigator. I would be too busy vomiting.
Traumatized.
No, yes. And these, so my hat's off to these people who are stomaching that work. They have to do a lot to take care of themselves and to sometimes detach from it, because it can be very debilitating. And like when I first found out about my friends' kids being raped in their home for money, I was like so disoriented. I thought, like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this seriously happens. And I was looking for humanity again. I was like, what? Like, where are the good people? And so I feel very, very blessed to have partnered with some amazing people. I say all the time, people are fascinating and frightening. And it's good to be both, but you got to have your antenna up for those people who are disembodied, the sociopaths, who are highly trained. They have been broken so severely, as you know, with your psych background, you break down someone so severely that the personality splits.
Yeah.
So with the nanny that my friends endured, when her hair would go up in a ponytail, they knew that bad stuff was coming. So there's a lot of mind control that feeds into this, and people grow up in this stuff. People grow up in these families that trafficking is their business, like drugs, trafficking, that's their family business. I have the privilege of working with a survivor. Her name's Tiffany, and she was kind enough to share her story to teens. She, on the outside, it looked like having a great life, like private school education, some really fancy cars on the driveway. Looks like mom and dad are doing well. But in reality, dad was a drug dealer and selling his daughter. So she had started being violated at age 3. And so first of all, the fact that she's alive is amazing. And the fact that she has overcome so much, and the fact that she has been empowered but to use her story to help others. Number one, understand that this exists. Like, she's the face of this. This exists. So look at me. I'm here. I'm telling my real story. And then, like, here is what I did to overcome it. And here's what you can do to be more aware and be safer. And she now, I want to give a shout out to her because she just received a certification to be an equine therapist. So like talking on the other end, healing and therapies for people to overcome some of these severe traumas. Horses are incredible.
And what was her name again?
Right, Tiffany.
Tiffany, where can people find her? Is she like online or anything like that? You got some links you could send me after the...
Yeah, Tiffany Jacobson. I will link to her in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Rehabilitation. What are a few considerations for that as we start to wind down?
Well, first of all, rescuing someone from trafficking, it's not, being a rescue operative, it's not all as sexy as it looks. It is gut-wrenching work. And not everyone wants to get out of the life because they are so manipulated. Right. So they're so broken. They're so broken and just considered like an object, not even human, that they don't feel that they could possibly do anything else, especially if you're trafficked from, like the average age to get into trafficking is around 13. So if you're trafficked from age 13, and you've experienced nothing else, it's really hard to get out of it. So number one, super hard. So if someone does want to get out of it and you offer a lifeline to them, the process can be extremely, extremely challenging. They have to want to get out, but there are many different systems set up to help. Not enough. There are not enough safe houses set up, but there are different healing modalities that can be done. And it just depends upon the person's level of do they have a religious preference, a spirituality preference, and connecting with good people, good organizations to come out of this, to help them provide job skills, be a mentor, provide a safe living space. So many wraparound services, community support with people who are aware, like really aware of the issue and all the traumas that go with it, to help just wrap around and support the person. So there are a lot, so much is needed. There are many things going on, but to eliminate those needs, we can pour more into prevention.
Right.
So we absolutely can't keep up with the needs because they're so great. So if you have, the ability,
I'll do your part. Yeah.
Yes. If
you guys link up with Rosie. Link up with Rosie. Your contact info will be down there.
One amazing community effort being done locally is I consult with a nonprofit called Stories Foundation, and they're building a cafe. And the cafe is a social impact give back cafe, and it will have provide wraparound services for survivors and apartments for survivors and dignified work. So that's just one phenomenal example of how communities can come together to provide a solution to this issue and a place for people to go, because, great, you're rescued. Awesome. Now what?
Right.
There's a long road ahead, and many key elements need to come into play and lay before the person so that they can be successful in their recovery. Wow. And believing them, just believing them, really.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge. Hardest lesson you've learned in the field? There it is.
Oh, so many, but it's really, really, it's hard to look at the evil that is out there. Like, it's hard, wow, it's really there. It exists. So that's really challenging, but something I tell myself every single day is there are far more good people than not.
Right.
So I think just grappling with that, the light needs the dark and vice versa. So we can't have one without the other. So trying to remember that there's a reason and a purpose for all of this. And particularly in the time that we're in now, it is quite a shift that is beginning, and that is still needed to move forward to really get people to wake up to this.
Wow. Awesome. Proudest moment in the field?
Proudest moment in the field is when I first interrupted some physical abuse happened by one student was experiencing physical abuse by her father, and she had the courage to tell her teacher after I presented in her classroom. So that was a life-changing moment for me. That was wow, I was so my heart broke for her. But I was so happy that she had the help that she deserved.
Wow. That's so meaningful. That's the stuff. That's what it's all for. That's beautiful. But on what you said about evil and how dark it can be. And really, you've got to be strong enough to look at it so you can address it, so you can deal with it. So good people. It's the ethos of what I'm doing. My life's work is helping the world become a safer place, making the world a safer place by helping good people become more dangerous, more willing, capable, and prepared. And that has to do with first getting them to a place where they can acknowledge and realize and accept the fact that evil is out there, and you have to be strong enough to look at it and accept that, and then do what must be done. And this is where all the other components of preparation and whatnot come in. But I think a huge problem we have now is that folks just don't want to look at it. They just want to keep on playing Angry Birds and Bejeweled on their phones and try to stay comfortable. And so people like us, I remember Angry Birds as a throwback. But anyways, that's like talking about a Game Boy these days. Ain't nobody remember Angry Birds. But
what
it was
Atari. What about Atari?
Yeah, I know. Okay. No, Atari.
I'm older than you are.
Yeah, that stuff it's so big. As good people, it's not enough just to be good. We have to be formidable. We need to be able to face evil. We need to be strong enough by the grace of God to do these things. This is what we're here for. We are the white blood cells in the body of humanity. We're the protector DNA in this human experience on this planet right now. And people need us, so it's incumbent. It's more than just something cool to do. It is a responsibility. It's a duty. That's the word I'm looking for. That we must answer, so I love all that stuff. Thank you so much for your time and attention. This has just been tremendous. I hope y'all need to share this podcast with everybody too. Y'all listening and share this information, get it out there, so people can really start to wrap their minds around these things and what they can do and what they should look for. The soft skills are everything. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap this thing up, Rosie?
You always ask someone about a quote, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So I am a quote junkie.
Yeah.
But, I'm a huge Dr. Joe Dispenza fan. I think he's doing some phenomenal work. So his quote is, "We are all faced with opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations." So wow. I feel like that's so applicable to this realm, is that it is massive. It is very dark, but it is such a gift for me personally to be aligned with really phenomenal people doing what they can in their realm. So no one can solve this problem alone. It will not be solved until the majority of the population can look at it, acknowledge it, realize it's here, and do what you can. Do what you can. Even being the teen hangout house. You're helping combat human trafficking by providing that space and being an active and engaged parent. So many things, very small and really big, that people can do to come alongside this issue. They're really limitless opportunities in this realm to come alongside it. So it's really tapping into yourself and seeing how best your gifts can come out.
Yeah. Like your gifts, like we all can impact this thing in a different way. And that's what it's going to take. Mm-hmm. And I love that quote, because that is the reality. Like everything looks so impossible. And it's like such a disguise. It's like false evidence appearing real stuff, like, oh, no one's ever done that. People don't do that, And then I'm like sitting over here like, man, I'm so glad I didn't listen to any of you people. God bless you, but like, come on,
right.
There's
you have to use your voice.
Like hashtag Tower of Babel, man. Like God had to be like, you know what? I have to come down here and stop these people because they can do anything they want. Like, come on, like
we all have these incredible gifts within us. I think some of us are just too busy and too conditioned to really tap into them. But when you open yourself up to this realm and you are truly wanting to make a difference, you will be amazed at what happens and the people who come into your life. And like the fear just melts away. You're like, all right, I know what I need to do, and we're going to go after it. So even when doors are closed, I have to remember that I am changing a person's consciousness about it. So even when the doors are shut, it's like, all right, it can be really frustrating. That's why I have a punching bag in my basement. Totally. It's good therapy. But I have to remember planting seeds is it's really important too, even though a lot of these changes should have happened yesterday, but it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Just keep it on.
I love it. No, and keep on doing it. That's how we get somewhere. That's the game, seed time and harvest, everything, we're planting seeds. That's what we do, Where are you these days? What are you up to these days? Where can people find you?
So I will give all my information in the show notes. I'm on Instagram, Rosie Cataldo. I'm on LinkedIn, Rosie Cataldo, and my prevention partner is Childhood Victories. He's outside Chicago. So honored to partner with him. And I super honored to consult with Stories Foundation. If anyone has and just just curiosity about Stories Foundation and the cafe, and maybe they want to franchise it, there are franchise opportunities. And I do speaking on this issue as well. I speak to groups like even, child safety councils to grad students at Georgetown. So I love talking to groups about this issue. There's so many different elements to it. And so always happy to do that as well. And if anyone's interested in being a rescue operative or learning how to set up a safe house or wants to be really dive deep into this training, I know you and I have both attended the Association for the Recovery of Children's training. It's phenomenal. It's life-changing. It's a great one. So just an excellent resource out there that's available for you.
Yes, absolutely. Basil Boz and his boys, like they do awesome work. They're the real deal. I'm a personal friend. If you guys are looking for an organization that's actually really, really impacting this fight, go ahead and look up ARC. In fact, we'll include their web address in the show notes. So you guys can go ahead and link up with him. You can learn more about Boz as well on another episode of this podcast.
He and Tina Paulson are just phenomenal people. Their organization is just totally vetted, doing incredible work. I encourage you, if you are checking out a nonprofit in your area, just do your homework. There's some really awesome groups out there. And then there's some, not as awesome groups. So just anyone can pull up someone's 990 and check them out.
Yes.
Around, talk to people. Don't just go off social media and fancy marketing.
And give your money to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I just got sweet. Yeah. Basil Boz. That episode is going to be in the show notes as well. So you guys can check them out. Awesome work being done there. Thank you so much, Rosie. It's always an honor and a privilege to spend time with you. I'm honored at your, just your heart to go and give what you got and impact this fight. You're a warrior, in your own right, spreading light, bringing light into the darkness, and I really, really value that. And I really want people to, see that and be inspired, like instead of looking in the mirror and thinking like, well, who am I? It's like, you might be everything to another person when it comes to snatching them out of the darkness, no matter what, you believe about yourself, even that you might be the only chance. You choosing to overcome your fear and insecurities and give what you got, your widow's mite, your 2 cents, your just some effort and brain power could be the only chance someone who's locked in a room right now being victimized has, or that doesn't know how to approach, getting freedom from this thing because it's a family member has, so, even if it's just spreading awareness about the situation. But I hope you'll do more than that. We all got to get in this fight. We got to keep our children safe and stop the momentum that this thing's picked up.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for all you're doing and your voice and your platform. It's very encouraging and it restores my faith in humanity, to be honest. Thank you. So grateful that we met.
100%. Absolutely. Thank you. And Rosie's a real deal, y'all. Connect with her afterwards. If you are wondering how you could get involved, send her some DMs, connect with her as well. She's full of ideas and she's relentless and she's a connector. And I love those things about her. So, all right, y'all. It's an honor. With that, we will see y'all next time. Boom. Boom. Yo, what up? I hope you guys really enjoyed that episode. Hey, listen, in order to get more out of the brand, I want to encourage you to go join us on our social media platforms and join us at protectornation.com. We post different types of content on our different platforms at different times. You'll get blog posts, you'll get videos, you'll get real world combat engagements and things like that. So stay plugged in order to get the most out of the brand. In order to support us, also go to protectornation.com and buy something or join forces with me on Patreon. You'll scroll down the homepage and you'll see the link. Anything you can give counts. Think about whatever you would lose in your cushions or like spend on McDonald's this month, $5 a month, whatever it is. That helps us make the world a better place by making good people dangerous. Anyways, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. And I'll see you on the next piece of content, whether it's a video or podcast. Out.